Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. This content is brought to you by Uphold, which is a great platform that I've been using since 2017. You can buy, sell, trade XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other crypto assets. They have 10 plus million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. If you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. All right, my friends, this week, the Fed will make the announcement whether they will be raising rates or pausing rates. I'm hoping and I'm anticipating a possible pause, but we'll have to wait and see. It's hard to tell right now. But here a report from CNBC is saying the Fed is poised to approve a quarter-point rate hike next week, despite market turmoil. Now, just about 2 weeks ago, the Fed gave the impression that they would raise things by 50 basis points. But of course, the whole banking industry started collapsing, right? We saw banks started going under, and the Fed and the FDIC has had to bail these banks out. So we are in a very tough situation. If the Fed continues to raise rates, they're going to continue to break banks and break the system. But of course, they're trying to lower inflation. So I put out a poll here, guys, saying, hey, what do you guys think is going to happen? The four options are pause rate hikes, raise rates by 25 basis points, raise rates by 50 basis points, and for number 4, not sure. Over 400 votes, and the winner here is raise rates by 25 basis points at just about 42.3%. So the market may be already pricing this in, right? That once again, the Fed is ramping down despite their kind of hawkish language in the last meetings. But who knows what's going to happen? I think they're going to have to pause. I'm thinking that the markets are forward looking and they're going to have to pause. And even here, Elon Musk weighed in on this today, and he was replying to someone and he said the Fed is operating with way too much latency in their data. Rates need to drop immediately. So I don't think the Fed would go and cut rates right away, but I think they would pause, and that would be enough for the markets to get really bullish, because they know if the Fed pauses, what's next? They're going to cut eventually, right? So this is my take on it, but it's to be determined, guys. It's to be seen what's going to happen. But the pressure is coming down because things are breaking. And here we had news that UBS and regulators rushed to close Credit Suisse deals Saturday evening. Credit Suisse is another bank that's on the brink of collapse if it's not already collapsing. There's also a call from mid-sized U.S. banks asking the FDIC to insure all deposits for 2 years. Mid-sized Bank Coalition, in a letter to regulators, they asked the FDIC to once again insure the all deposits for 2 years. But how is the FDIC going to do this? Where are they going to get the money from? Right? They back all this. Well, the Fed is going to have to keep printing. So QE will return, and as we know, the more they print, the higher assets prices go. That includes crypto stocks and so forth. So this is why I always say dollar cost average, hodl, and be patient. It's just a matter of time, guys. They will return to full-on QE printing, because that is how the system is made up. That's how it runs. And here's another example of the pressure that's coming in. So multiple reporting that private jets are flying into Omaha, and the White House is saying that the Biden admin is working with Warren Buffett to resolve the banking crisis. And here Autism Capital on Twitter said, so the plan is to have Warren Buffett, a private citizen, bail out the banks? That's how bad they need help? Terrifying. And then he followed up the tweet saying Buffett may need some of that rat poison squared soon. So, of course, we know Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are big time haters of Bitcoin. And I tweeted about that. I said another example of why Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger hate Bitcoin so much. Bitcoin disrupts and exposes their crony capitalism ties to the fiat system. So we've seen them go on TV and say Bitcoin, once again, rat poison squared. Charlie Munger compared Bitcoin to a venereal disease. And it's like these two old guys who were billionaires, they made so much money. Why are they fighting so much? because disruption is at their door. They hate it. They don't like it, right? And it just shows because you're using all that time and energy, and you're so fervent about your hate about an asset, a technology, right? You're just exposing yourself. It's like Shakespeare, you doth protest too much. You're exposing yourself by the level, the extent that you're going to try to discredit Bitcoin and crypto. Let's move ahead here. So Balaji Srinivasan, if I'm saying his last name right, many of you know him. He's the former CTO of Coinbase and general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. Has made a very public bet that Bitcoin will exceed $1 million within 90 days. So I'm sure many of you have been hearing about this on Twitter and through the whole podcast, YouTube, crypto YouTube, and so forth. So let's talk a bit about this. Now, would I love Bitcoin to go to $1 million in 90 days? Of course, I would love it, man. And then, of course, some of that capital would trickle down to the altcoins. The more money, the better, right? I will be able to accumulate more wealth and, of course, be able to use those funds to my pleasure and whatever I want to do. But my dreams and my hopes and emotions to the side. Let's talk about this logically. So, Balaji's making this bet. I'm sure many of you saw the tweet, $1 million. The term is 90 days. And will Bitcoin go to $1 million in 90 days? I don't think so. Now, is anything possible? Could that actually happen? Yes. But it's not a question of could it happen. It's a question of what's the probability of it happening, right? Because anything can happen, guys, right? And this is how you have to look at these things as probabilities. What's the percentage? I'll probably give this a 10%, but 90% no. Right? 10% yes, 90% no. And Balaji shared a lot of facts. Don't get me wrong, right? He put out some great facts about hyperinflation, what the banks are doing, the insolvency, they're lying. I think we all know there's cracks, there's holes in this whole financial system, right? We're seeing it happen. But the Fed is there bailing these folks out. And will the United States go into a hyperinflation situation within 90 days? I don't think so. What I do think here, with all respect to Balaji, and I've learned a lot from him, he's a very smart guy. I think this is a narrative put out there because Bitcoin right now is headed to a retracement, and he probably has some longs in place, and him and his buddies are probably betting on it. So I'm not hating. I'm not saying he's a bad guy for doing that. He is putting out a thesis. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to believe it, right? He's not forcing or doing anything to anybody. He's putting up some money. And some may say, well, hey, Tony, why is he putting up $1 million then? Well, he's probably going to make more than that on his longs, right? So you guys have to understand the level of or circles that this guy operates in. With Andreessen Horowitz, who's at Coinbase, I'm sure he's well off, and he's probably has some big bets. And of course, we've been tracking Bitcoin's move and retracement to $40,000 to $50,000. So I think we're starting to see some narratives pop up here. And even Ryan Selkis of Masari, he said, I agree with Balaji that the current crisis in the U.S. banks could get much worse, and that it is the fault of terrible federal policy and zero fiscal discipline. Crypto will be a scapegoat. But he said, but I disagree on timing and magnitude and have no plans to leave the U.S. I'll fight here. So once again, if you put some common sense here, you put your emotions to the side, Bitcoin to $1 million in 90 days, right? Your gut just says, nah, that's not right. And that, what would that be? Like a 3,600% increase from 26 or well, it's right now is at $27,000 increase to $1 million. I don't buy it, but I will happily be wrong because I hold Bitcoin, I hold other crypto. Bitcoin moves, the alts will move as well. And if all that capital comes in, then I will be filthy rich. But like I said, guys, 90% no, 10% yes, right? We'll see what happens. I would love to hear what you guys think. But look, like I said, Balaji is sharing some really solid facts. I think the premise as to why Bitcoin could go to $1 million, but the 90-day window is what throws me off. Not in 90 days. Maybe in 10 to 15 years from now. I think that's possible. To 1 million. You really have to wrap your head around that. $1 million. And all the headwinds we're facing right now in the crypto industry, I don't think so. And CBDC's coming. I don't think so, guys. But certainly happy to be wrong here. Now, some thoughts here by Benjamin Cohen, who's a well-known analyst. He has a big YouTube channel. He shared some a great statistic here, which shows that all these things are moving towards Bitcoin's retracement. He shared a chart which is called the stablecoin supply ratio oscillator. He said the stablecoin supply ratio oscillator just reached the peak level it reached in 2019. Note that from this level in 2019, Bitcoin moved up one last time before kicking off a new downtrend that lasted for about 9 months. And that's what we're expecting, guys. This is a chart I've been sharing with you guys for a year now. The repeat of a similar pattern to 2019, then a rollover to test the lows again, and a slow, steady grind into 2024, the Bitcoin halving, then this slow, steady move up for the bull run after the halving, like we've seen historically. So he says, just remember, oftentimes in recovery years, 2015, 2019, and now 2023, we tend to get ahead of ourselves and calls for new all-time highs will pop up. Typically, though, especially during the latter half of the year, the market comes back to earth. So he's right. So Balaji and some of these people who are calling for new all-time highs this year, look, I will gladly be wrong, but the history, the data, the trend does not confirm that, does not tell that story, right? And I think the 4-year cycles and the halving, that's what has been the standard. Doesn't mean it can't change, but I don't think new all-time highs are coming this year. I think 2025 is when we see the all-time highs. But like I said, I will gladly be wrong because I'm here to make money. And if it happens this year, then that will be great. But once again, it's about probabilities. There's a high probability it does not happen or go to new all-time highs. Now, another analyst shared an update here on the altcoin market. And, we've talked about Bitcoin continues its move upwards. What we've seen historically, the capital will flow from Bitcoin to the altcoins. He said, update on the altcoin market. As mentioned 10 days ago, the moving average 200 is holding excellently, and we even had a retest of the breakout from the small wedge. A break of the upper black line is the moment when altcoins go crazy. We're so close. And he put a volcano erupting emoji here. So I'm here for it, my friends. I'm here. I know many of you are as well. We're all waiting for a move upwards. And, remember, you do what you want to do with your coins and your money, but as a principle, don't forget to take profits. Now, Brian Brooks, I'm a big fan of Brian. This guy's so smart. He's so articulate in the way he talks about crypto and tech. He was interviewed by CoinDesk. And remember, he was part of the OCC, and they had green lighted banks to be able to hold crypto and digital assets. And of course, now that same OCC, the Fed, and all these folks with Operation Choke Point are trying to pull those things back. So he gave a quote here on CoinDesk. He said, I think it's pretty clear that there has been a decision across the bank regulatory agencies in this administration that crypto is inherently risky and needs to be extricated from the banking system. So confirming the Operation Choke Point. And attorney John Deaton weighed in on Brian's comments. He said, this is why we must fight regulators in court. Brian Brooks was comptroller of the currency. He oversaw banks. He authorized banks to custody digital assets. Today, the government seizes banks if they service crypto companies. Until Congress act, we fight in court. This is why we need Ripple to win that lawsuit against the SEC, and even Grayscale to win the lawsuit against SEC, guys. Those are two big cases that would be a major blow to the SEC and these folks who are trying to slow crypto down and really, once again, not kill it. Because, if they wanted to kill it, they could just set up an outright ban. But they're trying to slow it down, roadblock it as much as possible. So that's the news, my friends. What do you all think about Balaji's Bitcoin bet? And I know I didn't go through all the full details. I'm sure many of you heard about it and read about it already. But interesting. I respect him. Once again, a smart guy. I don't agree. But let me know what you all think, and I'll talk to you all later.